Can a dividend growth investor in 2024 invest $50,000 into SCHD and retire completely off this one and only ETF? Well, the good news is I promise you I have the answer to that. Make sure to stick around to find out. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So before we go through the exact numbers and we figure out if or if not an investor can retire off of SCHD with just $50,000 invested into it in 2024 while the market's basically trading near all-time highs. For those that might not be aware, we're talking about the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, or SCHD, which offers a 0.06% expense ratio. Is, side note, one of the most popular dividend growth ETFs across the entire market because SCHD has a rock solid basket of holdings, pays a decent dividend off top, and also offers some significant dividend growth historically, and is very, very cheap to own. But with the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF now trading at over $79 per share as of the filming of this video, SCHD is getting more and more expensive, considering within the last 52 weeks, the low for SCHD was $66.67. Now, the reason this is specifically important, especially for figuring out if or if not an investor can retire off of SCHD, which is $50K invested as of today, as SCHD's price has been going up and up, the yield that SCHD's dividend offers is going down and down. Now, what I mean specifically is when SCHD was trading below $70 per share, which at this point wasn't even all that long ago, SCHD's trailing 12-month dividend yield was somewhere up around 4% or even higher. I personally was adding shares of SCHD in my portfolio while it was well below 70, and I was getting a starting forward yield of over 4%, which I was loving. But as of today, if an investor wants to buy SCHD, there's no longer a 4 in front of the yield. Now we're talking the low 3s, which is significantly going to affect the numbers if we were looking at SCHD's numbers today. Now, some more important aspects to figure out if this is actually possible anymore. SCHD's trailing 12-month dividend yield is 3.37%, but more importantly, we need to look at dividend growth rate and try to get an average of how much SCHD's dividend is going to be going up in the future, and all we can really do to forecast this is see how much SCHD has raised their dividend in the past. Now, it says right here the trailing 12-month dividend growth rate is 3.77%. The 3-year CAGR, though, is 9.43%. The 5-year is 13.05%. And the 10-year, because this ETF has been around for a while, it's kind of nice because there is a lot of data to go off of. So the 10-year CAGR is 11.39%. So even just to be fair, going off of a 10% dividend growth rate, let's use that for our numbers. Now, the last thing we have to figure out is exactly how much it's going to cost as far as expenses go for a single person, because for this example, we're going to go off of a single person. I know that some people have a spouse or a family, but just to keep things very simple, we're going to see how much an investor would have to invest into SCHD to be able to retire early off of the dividend income alone, and this is for a single person, which in the United States, the current average monthly living expenses is around $3,100, $3,200. So just going off of $3,200 per month or around $38,000 per year. Now I get it, expenses are going to be different, maybe by where you live, they're much more expensive, and maybe much cheaper at the other area, but let's just go off of $3,200 a monthly expenses and see if a $50,000 investment into SCHD would suffice. So heading over to the dividend calculator, you can see that a portfolio with a $50,000 investment initially into SCHD, which currently offers around a 3.34% yield, a 10% annual dividend amount increase. Again, this could all vary. We're just going off estimations here. A 3% annual share price appreciation, 30 years invested, $1,200 annual contribution on top of that, so just $100 more a month. A quarter distribution from the dividends from SCHD, which are going to be reinvested to really be able to compound this portfolio as fast as possible. So the numbers are in year number 1. If an investor bought $50K worth of SCHD in 2024, this investor would receive $1,691 per year. Not even close to retiring. Remember, we need around $38,000 per year to retire. So year number 2, after those dividends are reinvested and of course the $1,200 annual contribution, we're up to $54,000 and around $2,000 per year in dividends. Skipping right along, if an investor decides to stick with this strategy specifically, by year number 10, $105,000 and $6,500 per year in dividends. Now, just to cut to the chase, it would take, just going off of these calculations, around 20 to 21 years in order for this investor's principal, so how much SCHD they actually have as far as worth goes, to hit around 300 to 340,000 and to surpass around 36,000 to $44,000 per year in dividends. So just off of that $50,000 investment and literally just reinvesting the crumbs along the way, it would take an investor around 20 or 21 years without any more major contributions into SCHD into the portfolio. This investor would be able to do it all organically, basically more or less after 20 or 21 years. Now, just for fun, looking a little bit further down, 23 years down the road, we're talking 450K of SCHD and almost $67,000 per year in dividends. And of course, because the power of compounding works like magic, as the numbers get bigger and bigger, you're really going to see things speed up here. Considering year number 23 to 24, we're talking almost an extra $20,000 per year in dividends, if of course all the dividends were still being reinvested. So this is not going off of an investor living off the dividends, but still you get the idea here. And then all the way, if an investor wanted to wait 30 years to touch a single dividend and reinvest them all the way, $1.5 million worth of SCHD with around $369,000 in dividends per year. And again, I repeat, these are all just estimated numbers just to give us an idea of what could potentially be possible. We don't necessarily know if SCHD is going to continue to raise their dividend 10% per year, 5% per year, or maybe in the future the dividend could even go down. But just going off of some basic numbers and just to give us all an idea of what we can look at, that's basically what it looks like. An investor as of right now could retire off SCHD in say 20 to 21 years. Now, I also thought this would be sort of interesting to change the initial annual dividend yield for SCHD to 4.1%, which is what some investors were getting if they were buying SCHD in the mid 60s not all that long ago. And this is just to prove a point that if and when there's good investment opportunities that are offering a surprise accidental high yield, it could be life-changing. Now, this is because not changing anything else throughout all the numbers, this investor now would be able to retire in theory in just 18 or 19 years. So it would save them multiple years to hit the same exact amount of annual dividend income, which honestly is still significant. Not to mention, if we go further and further, you can see that by year number 30, now this investor has $2.5 million and $764,000 of annual dividend income. And this is all just based off of 1% over 30 years, but trust me, that 1% compounds like crazy if you extrapolate out far enough. So is an investor able to still retire off of just $50,000 invested into the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF while SCHD is basically trading near all-time highs? The answer is, of course, yes. But the caveat is that it's going to take the investor a little bit longer because the initial dividend yield is going to be much smaller because of the fact that this ETF's price has skyrocketed just over the last few months. But now that we went through all that, I want to hear from you guys down below. Are you currently, as of right now, buying shares of SCHD across your portfolios? And of course, only if you're comfortable with it, how many shares do you have as of right now? As of the filming of this video, I currently have 573 shares of the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF across my portfolios. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.